This is a video about fatherhood. If you spent any time on this channel, that wouldn't be hard to guess, and if you've watched Ultraman Rising, that would be even easier to guess. I didn't put together from the trailer or the release date that that's what this movie would be when I sat down to watch it. I essentially went in blind, but I do remember a lot of the online reception to the trailer was about how Ultraman was being marvelized.
I mean, stop there, beast!
How the teaser made him feel more like Spider-Man than Subarai's flagship hero, which I'll be honest, I was on board with. I love Spider-Man, America loves Spider-Man, Ultraman loves Spider-Man, so let's do this.
Let's go!
If you haven't seen it, Ultraman Rising follows Ken Sato, a former LA Dodger returning to his birthplace of Japan to play for the Yomiuri Giants.
I'm here to help.
Not really. Ken is actually the son of Ultraman. He's come back to Japan to take over the family business of fighting kaiju.
Ultraman! Stop showboating and do your job!
At least that's what he thinks. Ken soon discovers that being Ultraman was never about the action, it's all about balance. Enter Gigantron, which, can I pause here for a moment? Because there's this huge plot point in the background of this story that in a fight with Gigantron, Kenji's dad was unable to deter the kaiju away, and instead of killing it, decides to shield his family, but this in turn leads to the death of Dr. Onda's family. And this whole scenario ends up scaring Ken's parents so badly that Kenji and his mother move to the United States. Just keep that in your pocket for later. So in present day, Gigantron is taken out by the KDF, leaving Ken with a kaiju egg that becomes Emmy. Emmy throws Ken's life into disarray. Now, on top of juggling baseball and ultra things, Ken is forced into being a father to a newborn kaiju.
Come to, Daddy.
Now, I'm gonna cut through the chase here a little bit and tell you that I absolutely love Ultraman Rising. I think it should win every animated movie of the year award. The shading of this movie is insane and unlike anything I've ever seen before. The way the fight scenes feel so kinetic yet so weighted at the same time, it brings you into a fight between these behemoths in a way that we don't usually get. It should probably win Best Adapted Screenplay too, even though it's an original story and script. You know, Barbie kind of set the precedent on existing IPs last year.
Oh, hey. You've caught me reading.
I could come up with so many ways to glaze this movie. I can tell you that Ken's Japanese voice actor is Yuki Yamada, also known as Gokai Blue. But I'd be lying if I said I watched it in Japanese because the English dub is overflowing with emotion.
Mina, I don't say this enough. Thank you.
Shout out to Christopher Sean, who voices English Ken. I wasn't familiar with his work before this, but I did find this clip from Days of Our Lives of him getting beat up by AEW wrestler Johnny Elite.
Long time. Both benches have cleared. They're feeling conscious.
But this video is about fatherhood, and this is my daughter. She's about 3, and she's currently got one big obsession.
No, Ultraman, do your job!
Emmy. Now, I have seen Ultraman Rising 6 times in full, not for myself, but because of her, so I think I have a little room to speak on the topic of fatherhood in this movie. At the most basic level, I could point you to Ken's sleepless 71-day montage and say, yeah, welcome to fatherhood. But I really want to drill into the 3 fathers of this story, so let's start with Ken. I wasn't lying when I said that the montage is what it's like. I truly believe that no one is ready to become a father. Like, I'm talking truly ready. I waited till I was 30 and I still had no idea what I was in for. This responsibility is thrust on Ken in the same way that Ultraman is. In reality, Ken is only interested in one thing: baseball. Kenji wants to be the best baseball player ever. He wants championship rings. He wants fame, more so than he already has.
No. What I said was, I am the greatest living player.
Now, this is going to be taken the wrong way, but walk with me for a second because it comes from a place of experience and vulnerability. Having a child takes away your individuality. You are one singular being with goals and aspirations that is now meant to keep another being alive and consider them in every action you take. It's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but it by no means takes away the love you have for your child. This montage hits on those levels because while yes, there are sleepless nights with a newborn, that's not really the reason Ken is so spent. It's baseball.
You're up! out!
It's focusing on himself and his goals instead of Emmy. On top of that, he's doing it alone. Mina is obviously a supercomputer, but she can only stand in as Ken's mother so much. It's not until Ken lets someone else in that he gets some reprieve. His call with Ami is a big turning point in not only admitting to himself that he's more than a babysitter, but it leads to one of the best moments in the film.
Whoa! Yes!
I can't be ashamed anymore. I will admit that this scene made me cry. Emmy becoming interested in baseball because she watched Ken play is heartwarming. I can't really explain it, but I'm going to try. That individuality I was talking about earlier, imagine this. You change focus and everything is about your kid. There's not a day that doesn't revolve around them. Anyone that you spend time with doesn't want to see you without your child. You've become a vehicle for this little being, and that's okay. You love being a parent, and this is the start. But then, almost out of nowhere, your child picks up something as simple as a baseball bat. You're looking them in the eye, and what you see staring back at you now is a little piece of yourself. That individuality that was pushed to the back has now become a shared interest, something you can pass on, a legacy. This scene is that moment. Two people that feel worlds apart sharing a feeling. It can happen between man and kaiju just as it does man and baby. For Ken and Emmy, it's baseball. For me, it's
Ultraman, do your job!
The second father in this story is Ken's dad, Hayao Sato. Now, if you take this story from Ken's perspective and see Hayao as sort of this absent father, then you'll miss a lot of what's going on. Remember before when I was talking about the original battle with Gigantron? We're shown that scene a few times throughout the movie, but Ken doesn't actually remember the shielding part until he's reconciled with Hayao and is sacrificing himself to save Emmy, much like his father did for him. This is the catalyst that makes Hayao and Emiko decide to move Ken to America. Hayao has to give up his family, but Emiko has to give up something too.
Ken's mom actually founded the KDF.
That's Ultraman Rising's writer and director Shannon Tyndall adding quite a fascinating bit of lore to this story. Emiko gave up her mission of defending Japan to defend Kenji on the other side of the world. So why didn't Hayao go? The simple answer is this is what he was sent to Earth for. Earlier in the movie, a confrontation between Ken and Hayao ends with the elder Sato driving off in a car with the license plate M78-U7. Eagle-eyed Ultra fans notice this as an Easter egg referring to Nebula M78, or the Land of Light being the world where most Ultras are from, and Ultra 7, the character that Hayao takes his inspiration from. But fast forward a little more and this Easter egg becomes anything but. In the after credits scene, Kenji's mother sends him a message and the location reads Nebula M78.
I'm still alive. Help me get back home.
Add to the fact that this location is known by the supercomputer programmed by the Satos, and suddenly this becomes a personalized vanity license plate. If you can't see where I'm going here, Professor Sato is an Ultra that came to Earth, took human form, fell in love with his commander, and had a half-human, half-Ultra child. I know it sounds out there, but here's Shannon Tyndall confirming it on Twitter. Why do you think Hayao is so good at raising a child of another species? Because he's done it before. This is Hayao's bonding moment with Ken. Hayao had to learn to be human. He never saw his individuality passed down to Ken until he was able to bond with his son over what being an Ultra really meant. Balance. Balance between people, between worlds, between perspectives.
You did a very good thing, Kenji. We did a good thing, Dad.
The third father of this story, Dr. Onda, was robbed of those moments.
Your family, mine, are in danger. Tron is coming.
Onda can be seen at the start of the movie warning Hayao that both their families are in danger. This is the day that changed everything and drives him throughout the story.
Did you ever worry that your power wasn't enough?
Ken posed this question to his father, but Onda lived it. Onda didn't have the power to protect his family. He relied on Ultraman.
I trusted you!
And Hayao's failure is what drove Onda to turn the KDF into a more lethal force, to become something that extinguishes the kaiju of Japan instead of deter them. Under that lens, I can't really blame Dr. Onda for the actions he takes. I can't imagine what losing a daughter does to someone, but I can imagine the lengths I would go to protect mine.
Soon.
The pain in Onda's voice as he watches Akiko after activating the self-destruct, because the last thing he wants to do in life is take revenge on the kaiju that took his family away. Onda thinks that he is righteous until the very end. This is my dad. A few summers ago, he was having some health problems. I drove him out to my parents to take him to some of his tests for the week, the kind of tests that lead to things like chemotherapy and such. It was a very somber visit for me. Even with so much uncertainty in the air, I didn't know what to talk to my dad about, so the whole week was filled with small talk and kind of avoiding this elephant in the room. One day, we're sitting on the couch watching TV. I turn on the YouTube app, and the first thing on recommended, Ultraman 1966, English dub. My dad sits up and says, Ultraman. I hit play, and he talked through the entire first episode about how he used to watch this when he was little. His friends and him pretended their buttons were Science Patrol badges and would use them as communicators on the playground. There wasn't a stack of boxes that they met that wasn't turned into a makeshift city to crash through. We watched 6 episodes together that day. Sometime later, we found out what was wrong and that my dad was going to be okay. To this day, he still shows me how to be a dad. We saw him over the summer and all watched Ultraman Rising together. This is a video about fatherhood.